Chapter 22, Rumble in the Jungle. Jockey Island, December 23rd, 1998. The island, once a vibrant landscape teeming with life and hope, was now a chaotic stage of violence and destruction. The air was thick with the acrid smell of smoke and blood, mingling with the roars of combatants and the crackle of unleashed energy. All across the island, fierce battles raged, with each clash of steel and burst of magic contributing to the rapid, brutal culling of participants. The ground was littered with the fallen, their bodies strewn in grotesque displays of violence. The vibrant flora that once adorned the island was now scorched and broken. The remnants of nature burned to ash or shattered under the weight of relentless combat. Waves crashed violently against the shore, reflecting the turmoil on land with their chaotic froth. In less than an hour, the numbers had dwindled from several thousand to a mere couple hundred. Fighters, both human and monstrous, engaged in relentless skirmishes, their survival instincts driving them to eliminate all who stood in their way. Each combatant knew that only the strongest or most cunning would be spared the slaughter. Fights erupted everywhere, from the dense forests to the scorched beaches. Sparks flew as weapons clashed, and the air shimmered with the heat of powerful spells. Exhausted fighters stumbled over the bodies of their fallen foes, their breath ragged and their eyes wide with the desperation to survive. In the midst of this carnage, alliances were forged and broken in seconds. Once temporary allies turned on each other, driven by the primal urge to secure a place among those who would advance to the tournament. The sound of battle cries and the stench of death created a grim symphony, punctuated by the occasional explosion or energy burst that sent shockwaves through the island. As the battle rages across Jockey Island, the chaos and bloodshed only intensified. Inyana and Kazura stand at a vantage point, their eyes sweeping over the pandemonium that has engulfed the once serene island. The air is thick with the acrid scent of smoke and the cacophony of battle cries, roars, and the clashing of weapons. From their elevated position, they watch the gruesome spectacle with a mix of satisfaction and detached curiosity. Inyana's gaze is sharp, her violet eyes reflecting the flickers of flames in the shadows of combatants. She is both an observer and a conductor of this grand display of violence. Her expression is one of cold amusement as she surveys the island, her mind calculating the ebb and flow of the battle. "Look at them," she says to Kazura, her voice a blend of disdain and admiration. "So many fighting so fiercely, yet it's all for naught in the end. Only the strongest will survive." Kazura, his expression grim, nods in agreement, his own eyes darting across the battlefield, noting the shifts in momentum and the emergence of new conflicts. The sheer scale of this carnage is breathtaking. It's as if the island itself has become a crucible, burning away the weak and forging the strong. The sound of clashing steel and the occasional roar of a demon fills the air, as Hui, caught up in his own frenzy, joins the fray. His transformation into a wild and controllable force is evident. The once disciplined Sakari general is now a whirlwind of violence, his every move a testament to the insatiable bloodlust of the Sakari. He cuts through foes with savage efficiency, his claws and energy waves slicing through both demons and humans alike. Hui's presence on the battlefield further accelerates the chaos, as monsters of various forms and sizes clash with each other and with the remaining humans, their battles leaving trails of destruction in their wake. The ground is littered with fallen combatants, their bodies serving as a grim marker of the ever-dwindling number of participants. Amidst this brutal dance of death, the humans fight desperately for survival, their numbers thinning rapidly as they contend with both the monstrous adversaries and the treacherous terrain. The battlefield is a shifting landscape of violence where every moment brings a new confrontation, and every breath could be their last. As the carnage continues, the island itself seems to tremble under the weight of the ongoing slaughter. The sky, once clear, is now obstructed by smoke and the occasional burst of magical energy. The ground is scarred with craters and smoldering debris, putting on display the full ferocity of the combat. Inyana's gaze remains fixed on the battlefield, her expression inscrutable as she takes in the unfolding spectacle. Soon this island will be nothing more than a field of corpses, she muses. And from the ashes of this chaos, the true competitors will emerge. Kazura, still observing the turmoil with a stoic demeanor, offers a final contemplative nod. Let the blood flow freely. Only the strongest will rise from this slaughter, and they will be the ones to face the ultimate challenge. Everything is going just as the Yazata predicted, Inyana says with annoyance. It pains me to admit this, considering how much I loathe those pompous creatures. Cedrion did not come up with this plan without forethought, Kazura says. He has observed not only the humans, but all mortals of this world, learning their natures and predicting every move they can make. Instruct the other participants to target the young allies of my brother's vessel. I want that boy completely alone and grief-stricken before Hui delivers to him his end, Inyana says. They do not obey me, my queen. The only reason they are here is to claim the Banukazka. Kazura has already had to kill several demons, who went searching on their own for the resting place of the sacred Yazatan weapon, ignoring the other combatants. Find something to persuade them, then use it to have them kill those humans. You have already declared a free-for-all. As the combatants' numbers thin, the humans will not be among those who still live. I believe they are all magic users, Inyana growls. I know just how much magic can alter the course of a battle. Every decision he has made has been through decades of careful planning, Kazura says. If the mages are here, Cedrion does not believe they are of consequence. I still do not trust him, Inyana complains. He used me and my army for his own purposes. He knew that we would be defeated, and led us to our end all the same. We Sakari should be working in alliance, not being used as the pawns of the Yazata. Kazura laughs. I was never anything to you other than a disposable soldier and a criminal. Cedrion has given to me the power and the means to exact true change in this world. I will do what you are unable, and I will put an end to humanity. You do not fool me in Nazria, Inyana growls. Your intention is to absorb the powers of everyone on this island, and it is far too transparent. And yet you can do nothing but watch. Your part was to lure my prey to jockey for me. Now, I will profit from all of your hard work. Hui, Inyana thinks. All of my hopes are on your back, my faithful Grand General. You must gain enough strength to overcome my brother, and help me eliminate Nazria and the Yazata. Hui's claws are still dripping with the dark viscous blood of the Varkalak, as he turns to see Jake in action. The Sakari's face contorts into a sneer of both rage and derision. He watches with a predatory gaze as Jake executes a flawless hip toss on an armored block. The goblin-like creature grunts and flails before crashing into the ground. Jake's foot comes down with brutal finality, crushing the block's throat beneath his heel. Hui's eyes narrow, a dangerous glint igniting within them. "I could end him right now," he whispers to himself, a malevolent smile curling on his lips. "I could finally have my revenge for all of the humiliations I have endured." His hands clench into fists, the temptation to strike down Jake momentarily consuming him. However, his dark thoughts are interrupted by a guttural voice. Hui looks up and turns to see Sweardig, a massive boar-faced demon with jaws dripping of saliva. Sweardig's grotesque form and the sheer size of his fists marks him as a formidable opponent. His beady eyes narrow in disdain as he regards Hui. "I don't care if you're supposed to be some great warrior in your world." He salivates from his oversized jaws, and his fists are larger than Hui's entire skull. "To me, you look like any other pathetic human monkey," Sweardig growls, his voice a low grumble that vibrates to the air. The boar demon's massive fists clench and unclench, his tusks gleaming in the dim light of the burning island. Hui's eyes flash with irritation at the insult, but he forces himself to maintain a calm demeanor. He turns his full attention to Sweardig, the bloodlust in his gaze momentarily masked by a veneer of cold calculation. "Is that so?" Hui's voice is dangerously soft, but the threat underlying in his words is unmistakable. "Then perhaps you should show me how you plan to back up such bravado." Sweardig's response is a guttural roar as he lunges forward, his immense fists swinging with earth-shattering force. The ground trembles beneath his feet, and the air is filled with the stench of sweat and blood. Hui's eyes track the boar demon's movements with a predator's precision. He ducks and weaves, narrowly avoiding the crushing blows, each movement fluid and precise. Hui's hair stands on end as he surrounds his body with combat energy. His eyes become a deep red color. Fangs and claws replace teeth and nails. An overwhelming release of energy slams into the demon, pushing him back several steps. Sweated angers, rushing forward against the energy with a powerful punch. The demon is both surprised and horrified, as his punch is stopped by a single finger. The shockwave of the impact erupts to either side of Hui, cutting two deep trenches into the earth. "Damn you!" Sweardig growls, throwing a punch with his other arm. Hui evades, rotating into the demon and striking him in the chest with an elbow. The demon folds as if all the fight has been ripped from his body in an instant. With the same finger used to stop Sweardig's punch, Hui flicks the demon's forehead between the eyes. Blood sprays out from a dime-sized hole as the demon falls back, dead. An inhuman howl sounds throughout the entire island before sparkles of red energy flash around Hui's body. A pulse of superheated water is fired like a bullet past the Sakari's face, narrowly missing him. The water hits a tree and immediately scorches the bark, releasing hot steam. Hui turns his head to see a slimy green, horse-like creature reared up on two legs. The creature channels the water element all around it, charging up multiple more aqua bullets. Hui dodges the attacks, rushing towards the Kelpie before the creature drops into a quadrupedal stance, increasing its speed and reflexes tremendously The Kelpie evades Hui and pivots, kicking him in the chest with its hooves. "Damned beast," Hui growls, holding his chest in pain as he is knocked back several feet. A single line of blood trickles from his lips. The battle rages on all around Hui, but his focus narrows to an immediate threat that grips him. A long serpentine tail coils around his neck, pulling him backwards with terrifying strength. The Sakari gasps for air, his claws scraping at the constricting appendage, in a desperate attempt to free himself. The monstrous tail belongs to an Atoyag Shoggoth, a horrific extra-dimensional being whose bulbous, maw-like body is filled with row upon row of razor-sharp teeth. Hui's eyes widen in horror as he watches the Atoyag Shoggoth's gaping mouth open wider, its tentacles snaking out to ensnare and devour anything that comes too close. A nearby Beliziao demon is also caught in the creature's grasp. It is pulled in and bitten in half with a sickening crunch. The guttural screams of the demon echo through the chaotic scene as the maw devours its prey. Struggling against the crushing pressure, Hui manages to summon his remaining strength. With a fierce cry, he unleashes his energy in a spell. "Almatiga Strab!" he shouts, throwing his hands towards the Atoyag Shoggoth. The arcane force blasts forward, tearing through the creature's tentacle and sending it sprawling backwards with a thunderous impact against a nearby tree. The force of the spell creates a brief, shocking silence, giving Hui a moment to disentangle the now limp tentacle from his neck. Gasping for breath, Hui staggers and fights to regain his footing. The Atoyag Shoggoth, momentarily stunned, writhes in pain and attempts to right itself. The Sakari watches in strained silence as a shadow detaches from the treetops and drops gracefully to the ground. The figure is a lithe and fierce-looking female, her long claws gleaming with deadly intent. Without hesitation, she leaps towards the Atoyag Shoggoth, her claws carving through the air with precision. The creature's head is sliced cleanly in half by the swift, deadly strike, its body collapsing into a grotesque heap. The remnants of the creature's form twitch and convulse before lying still. Hui, still catching his breath and recovering from the choke, looks at the mysterious savior with a mix of gratitude and wariness. The female's eyes meet his, her expression a blend of determination and relief. She stands ready, claws dripping with the demon's dark blood, as the battle continues to swirl all around them. "That was my kill," Hui coughs. The female turns around, smiling as blood drips from her fingertips. Her body is covered in bluish silver scales, resembling those of a zmu. 3 snake-like tails tipped with barbs writhe behind her body. Spiked protrusions extend from her shoulders and back. "You're Inyana's pet. Complain to her." Hui prepares to engage the female in battle. "I don't know who you are, but you made a big mistake crossing paths with me. I am the destined winner of this competition." Descarina laughs. "It'll be a real shame for Inyana's champion to die before the tournament even begins." Angered, Hui rushes her with a flurry of fast strikes. Descarina blocks each strike without giving any ground to the Sakari. Amazingly, she is much faster than the Grand General. And using her tails like extra arms, Descarina continues to defend, while also striking Hui with several hard blows. Hui leaps back, disengaging. "You're deceptively strong." Descarina smiles. "Thank you. It took a lot of work to get to this point." "If I don't kill this one now, She will prove to be a major complication later, Hui thinks. The Sakari surrounds himself with a powerful aura of combat energy. Karina raises her eyebrows with intrigue. Getting serious already? I thought for sure that you would choose to run off and kill a few easier targets before fighting me, seeing what you have seen. Why snack on weaklings when killing you will provide me with nearly double the amount of power I currently wield? Double? Karina laughs. You flatter yourself. I am the Grand General of the armies of Averno, Hui boasts. I think giving you credit for being half as strong as me is quite generous. Karina's lip twitches in irritation. You're Grand General of nothing anymore. The armies of Averno have moved on without you for centuries now. If you went back there, I'm not sure anyone would even remember who you are. How dare you speak to me that way, Hui growls. I will teach you respect. He throws a hand out, hitting Karina with a tremendous force of invisible energy. Almatiga Strab. Karina takes a single stumbling step backwards and straightens up, arrogantly brushing herself off with her hands. Maybe we both had it wrong. I just might be twice as strong as you, not the other way around. Hui growls in anger, tired of being disrespected. The Sakari throws both hands out and begins to rapidly fire off bursts of energy. Karina evades the blasts, running around the forest and circling her opponent to move in closer. As Karina gets in striking distance, Hui exerts his aura in a tremendous force, like powerful winds rushing outward. Karina instinctively shields her face with an arm. Hui rushes forward, but Karina darts back and forth out of his reach with her greater speed. Hui skids to a stop, throwing a hand out and unleashing a second Almatiga Strab. Stunned for a split second, Karina is unable to mount a defense as Hui drives into her side with a knee to the gut. Hui continues with his momentum, slamming Karina's back into a tree. The tree splits, beginning to collapse on them when Hui quickly hits Karina with a hard right hook, smashing her into the ground. Karina's body forms an impact crater that immediately fills with seawater. Hui dives down, ramming his fist into Karina's chest and expelling the water from the crater in an instant. Karina screams out in pain and Hui leaps back, allowing the crater to refill with water. I hope you drown, arrogant little monkey, Hui says, turning his back on the crater. Karina leaps from the water and attempts to attack Hui from behind, but the Sakari merely glances to the side and slightly shifts his weight to smash his knuckles into her face. Karina starts to fall back, but releases her momentum in a quick backflip before immediately springing back up with a rising right hook. Hui sidesteps, driving another elbow down onto the top of Karina's skull. Karina hits the ground hard, skidding back and forming a trench of piled up dirt. As she stands back up, Hui rushes her with an uppercut to the gut that he runs with and slams her back against a rocky hillside. Hui grunts with exertion, pressing harder and lifting Karina up through the rocks and slamming her onto her back in an arc over his head. Karina whips her tails across Hui's face, pushing him back enough for her to stand up. She screams, throwing her hands out and releasing a powerful burst of energy. Again using Almatiga Strab, Hui slams her energy back against her and rushes with a right hook, right knee to the chest combo, followed by an elbow to the back. As Karina hits the ground, Hui lands on her with a driving sidekick to the chest that expels all the air from her lungs. Karina gasps for air, her eyes bulging. You're one hell of an opponent, Hui admits. Facing you in the tournament would have been setting a very high bar for everyone else. It is for the best that I kill you right now. I would not want to set such high expectations for the rest of the competition. Descarina grabs Hui's ankle tightly. Who said this fight was over? Hui growls, throwing the Sakari into the air. She speeds upward, headbutting Hui before wrapping one of her tails around his neck and throwing him back down to the ground. Hui hits the ground, creating an impact crater of his own. Descarina tries to punch him while he's down, but the Sakari leaps back in evasion and fires several quick bursts of energy. Descarina slaps each of the blasts aside, but Hui rushes with another knee to the gut. This time, Descarina blocks his knee with her hands and throws him off balance to the side, before delivering a roundhouse kick to the back of his head. You still have a lot of fight left in you, Hui says, wiping a streak of blood from his lips. Descarina grins, enjoying their battle. Unlike Ymora or the mages, she has nothing personal against Hui. This fight is only for gaining power and asserting herself as the island's top competitor. She refuses to be overlooked, as everyone expects the outcome of the tournament to be Ymora versus Hui. Descarina plans to act as a spoiler and rob Ymora of everything, even his revenge against Hui and Inyana. I'm just getting warmed up, Descarina says. I haven't even used any of my powers yet. She grins. And I have many more of those than you. Cedrion leaps back, chest heaving. Several pieces of his armor chip off, falling to the ground. Blood runs down the Yazata's arm and into his eyes from numerous cuts. Renduel drops to a knee, equally damaged by their battle. The Yazata forces himself erect, holding his sword steady. You betrayed our brothers. You murdered them. And now, instead of seeking atonement, you summon devils and monsters to this island in a bid to claim a cursed weapon never again meant to be wielded in this world. You can never atone for your crimes, Grigori. Cedrion laughs. What makes you think that I would ever want to seek forgiveness? Only those who have done wrong seek forgiveness. I seek justice. I seek to tear down the entire system and build a new heaven, with me as its righteous god. Renduel's eyes widen in horror. You cannot mean that. Cedrion nods. I will succeed where those idealistic fools Sane and Satanale failed. I will not try to raise an army or sway the minds of the masses. With the Banukazka, I will storm the gates and slaughter every last one of you on my way to the Creator himself. He smiles devilishly. And then, I will take his head as well. How can you even think such things? Renduel is nearly speechless, never before so offended in his life. He never expected Cedrion's goal was the destruction of all of Anshar. Because I desire freedom, Cedrion says. I can never experience true freedom so long as you are constantly hunting me. The Creator, the Serum, all of the choirs. You must all die for freedom to exist in this universe. How can you say that freedom does not exist? You rebelled against us. You had the free will to make that choice. Being hunted like an animal for hundreds of thousands of years is not a choice. That is merely punishment for not going with the system. The Creator is all about lies and trickery. Forced devotion is manipulation. We must have complete freedom without him. Renduel screams, having heard enough. The Yazda's anger blinds him, and Cedrion is able to swipe his sword diagonally as his opponent lunges. Renduel drops to his knees, losing hold of his sword as the muscles in his arm have been cut open. More blood explodes from his chest as Renduel's energy wings vanish and his aura abruptly ceases. You will never succeed, Renduel coughs. Cedrion decapitates his opponent without hesitation. And you will never know any freedom outside of this death. He drops to his rear, exhausted. I still cannot believe that this captain, unknown to me in the past, was able to push me so hard. Have I lost my edge, or are the Sarum trying to train elite warriors to replace those that they have lost in the wars? I need to rest while I can. The Sarum are relentless. Now that they know I am on jockey, and their assassin has failed, they surely will send another. Provost Butler and Rom have their hands full with a group of the dark elf Nalzesha's forces from Celiat Tarim. A dozen armored goblins surround them. The goblins are much shorter than the humans and appear like a cross between a hairless ape and a green bulldog. Commanding the goblins is a hob, a stronger and more intelligent goblin kin. As tall as an average human, the hob's musculature is more like that of a grizzly bear. If one were to get a hold of a human, they could easily rip them limb from limb. A goblin lunges with a sword slash, but Butler parries it, before cutting the creature down its center. Their armor is not strong enough to block the enchanted blade of the mage. Parry. 2 for 1. Gluttony, Butler chants, changing the enchantments of his sword. The hob angrily pushes several goblins forward. Butler slashes the nearest, 2 red cuts materializing across its chest instead of 1. The blood spilt by his attack actually soaks into his blade, due to the gluttony enchantment. Provost Rom throws her hands out, consuming several goblin warriors in Aginastra flames. 2 goblins in brown robes with staffs, topped with human skulls, step out from behind the hob. Garthi Boyakam! The goblin mages chant, dispelling the flames. This translates to no spell in goblin speak. The hob begins to laugh. Tan Ka'ara! You will all die in goblin speak. The goblin warriors cheer, raising their swords into the air. I don't know what he said, but he has them all fired up, Butler says. Provost Rom transforms her flames into a fiery bow. I'll try to distract them, but you need to take out their mages, or we'll never get anywhere. Butler nods, dodging several goblin strikes and cutting down any that get in his way. As the mage gets closer to the goblin mages, the hob intercepts with a large, broad sword. Butler leaps back, barely evading. The hob growls. Spell throw or die in goblin speak. Butler clashes with the hob, their swords clanging against each other or with showers of sparks raining down. While the creature is stronger and his blows batter the humans to the ground, each strike returns 1 back due to the parry enchantment. Each time Butler manages to score a hit, it counts as 2 because of the 2 for 1 enchantment. And any blood drawn is absorbed into the blade due to gluttony. Rom fires flaming arrows at the goblins, but the mages continue to dispel each of her attacks. Several goblin warriors are getting close, and she is forced to draw a short sword and defend herself. Rom kicks the nearest goblin in the chest and pivots, cutting open the throat of another. Butler sidesteps the hob's next swing and jumps onto the blade, driving a knee into the creature's face. As the hob staggers back, Butler attempts to impale it with his sword. The hob recovers, grabbing Butler by the wrists with one hand and his throat with the other. The hob begins to squeeze, choking the life out of the mage. Butler glances at his sword and whispers a command word to activate the second part of the gluttony enchantment. The payoff. The blood stored within the blade leaks out, creating an amorphous weapon that extends from the sword. In an instant, the blood weapon strikes of its own accord, cleaving the hob's head. Butler drops to the ground and throws his sword into the back of one of the goblin mages. The other turns in surprise, allowing Rom to end his life with several fire arrows. The remaining goblin warriors try to form a defensive circle, but with no magic protection, they don't last long. Zaya uses all of her speed and reflexes to stay one step ahead of the massive alien tentacles lashing out at her from the bulbous octopus-like body of the Old One known as Yaghagna. No one remembers where the Old Ones came from. Not even the Fae. Be it from space or another darker dimension. The horrific godlike entities that defy the Earth's physics and accepted symmetry just do not belong. Of the handful of Old Ones thought to still be on the Earth, they all slumber, sleeping for millennia, till some unknown event for which they first arrived. The Old Ones are largely uninvolved in the affairs of the material world. Strangely, this Lovecraftian rogue Old One not only does not slumber, but has come to jockey, actively seeking the same prize as all the mortals present. Creonle! Zaya shouts, doubling her speed and reaction time for the third time this battle. Her body has pushed past its limits and feels as though it is about to explode. She struggles to stay ahead of the Old One's movements, despite being boosted to 8 times her natural speed and reflexes. The creature seems to be able to naturally increase its own speed each time the mage does, in order to consistently remain faster than her. A strange guttural voice broadcasts into Zaya's mind, freezing her in place. The sound immediately brings with it deep instinctual fear passed on generationally through humanity. Your house belong you no more. Your dream over. Your house, my house. The words translate strangely in Zaya's mind, scrambled and hard to understand. Yaghagna uses sounds it finds in the mage's own memories to try and put together the translation. You're taking over the world? Zaya whispers, staring up into the creature's large, single eye. Why now? Why this tournament? Banukazka need fight Yazata. Rid Yazata. Make here home. You're going to use the Yazatan weapon to transform the earth into your home? Zaya asks in fear. She prays she is understanding the creature wrong. When here home, Others sleeping, awake. Others like you? We'd all be killed. Not all. Some slaves. Build cities for returned gods. Zaya breaks free of her paralyzing fear and holds out her sword in defiance. I won't let you. If I kill you now, you'll never be able to wake the others. Cannot die. Only sleep. Always awaken again. We'll see about that, Zaya shouts, running at Yahagna. The old one resumes attacking with its tentacles. Zaya evades the attacks, slicing through the appendages. Each tentacle that is severed transforms into a hideous monster called a Kahega, or a Chaos Spawn. Like the old one, the Kahegeth are made up of many tentacles, but are much smaller, roughly the size of a tiger. Dozens of mouths full of teeth lie beneath each tentacle, and a single elongated head sits at the forefront of the foe animal's core, with 2 vertical rows of 3 eyes and 1 larger central eye. 4 muscular arms pull the creature along quadrupedally, while dozens of smaller spider-like legs propel its bulk about. The ends of each tentacle end in squid-like suckers complete with beaked mouth parts. Zaya pivots to fight the Chaos Spawn forming around her, but Yahagna also continues attacking. The mage is in a difficult situation, facing death on all sides. Combusting her sword into flames, Zaya slashes at the Chaos Spawn first, and quickly turns to evade several tentacle swipes. The Chaos Spawn reform almost immediately, radiating a power of fear that causes Zaya to stumble. Yahagna manages to grab hold of the mage, pulling her towards its mouth. Zaya screams, releasing a powerful burst of magical energy directly into the old one's maw. Yahagna releases Zaya, who immediately cuts through the 2 nearest tentacles. Halio Ibhida, Zaya shouts, casting a powerful harm spell to damage the old one. Angered, Yahagna lashes out violently with its tentacles. Several of the Chaos Spawn are flattened, but the old one pays no attention, only wishing to kill the human. The mage again doubles her reflexes and speed with Krionle, her muscles starting to tear apart and bleed. She darts across the battlefield at blinding speeds, evading and cutting at the tentacles. Zaya kicks off one of the tentacles and slashing through the center of another as it nears her, reaching outward. Centum Gladii! Zaya screams, surrounding her body with 100 phantom swords. The swords begin to spin around the mage in a circle, cutting through the old one's tentacles as Zaya moves in closer to attack Yahagna's large eye. Break, Yahagna says, instantly shattering all of Zaya's swords and causing blood to erupt out from all of the mage's joints. Zaya falls to her back motionless. She opens her eyes, unable to lift her head. The Chaos Spawn slowly close in all around her. I thought I'd do better than this, she thinks in disappointment. Who would have thought I would have to face down a damn alien god before the tournament even began? I was so stupid to think I could stand up to something like that. I'm just an insect to this cosmic asshole. She looks to the side, seeing Danny and Allure fighting a furious battle against a powerful demon. My friends, they're all giving everything they have. I can't be the one that gives up. I have to keep fighting. I have to keep fighting for them. On willpower alone, Zaya forces herself to stand. Blood continues to drip from her body in dozens of places, and her Creonle boosts have been wiped away. Break, Yahagna again commands. The power of the Old One's words are some of the most ancient of magics, predating even the Yazata. Zaya screams, fighting the pain as her body erupts with a new wave of blood spray. She stumbles forwards a step, but catches herself to remain upright. Custio Deir, Animum, Zaya growls, shielding her mind from further psychic assaults and control magics. Zaya looks up, hatred in her eyes. Talionis. The sound of Yahagna's own command word vibrates through its ancient mind. Break. All of the Old One's tentacles begin to spray blood outward, and the creature vibrates with a pain not felt in thousands of years. Zaya picks up her broken sword and staggers towards Yahagna, slashing through its wounded tentacles. The Chaos Spawn attempt to attack, but Zaya repels them with her free hand. Helio Ibhida, she growls, using the harm spell to stun the Chaos Spawn. We spent a week on that damned boat, each of us pushing ourselves past exhaustion and repeatedly teetering on the brink of death so that we could become stronger, she screams, slashing through more tentacles. None of us wanted to be the weak link, the burden that our friends had to carry. We each fought hard so that we could protect each other. Die, Yahagna commands. I refuse to die. I have to keep fighting for my friends. Zaya screams. Her Custio Deir, Animum spell blocking the command word's effect. Talonis, she screams, reversing the spell back on the Old One again. Yahagna is damaged, but proves that it may be impossible to kill just as claimed. Blood leaks out around the creature's eye, and its body color has paled to a dull gray. Danny, Zuberi, Javad, they all worked hard to hone the ability to summon the saints. Senno approved his parasitic control. Alcine and Allure perfected their own summonings. But I didn't waste my time. I was working on something of my own. Zaya leaps into Yahagna's face, thrusting her broken sword into his eye. Hiedong! A marble-sized black circle manifests from the broken sword, deep inside the Old One's eye. Yahagna howls in agony as its mass is pulled into the black hole from the inside out, crushing its large body into a tiny singularity. I may not know how to kill you, but good luck coming back from this, Zaya says as the last of the Old One's tentacles vanish into the singularity like someone slurping up the last of a plate of spaghetti noodles. She turns, drawing the Chaos Spawn into the black hole as well, before collapsing to the ground, exhausted. The black hole spell vanishes once Zaya's concentration breaks. She passes out cold. Without killing her opponent, the mage receives no energy or abilities from her victory, and is left to recover on her own naturally in time.